Is one always just a number? Is one always a small number? No, it isn't. In fact, one could even be the apocalypse in the long run. Why? Let me explain. The most talked about topic of recent years is global warming. So how much has the Earth warmed? Actually, it has only warmed by 1 degree. It may sound insignificant. In everyday life, the air temperature fluctuates by a few degrees and we hardly notice it. But when it comes to the average temperature of the planet, 1 degree is a huge difference. Because it's not just a number, it directly means that the energy balance of our planet is changing. Since the Industrial Revolution, the average temperature has risen by about 1.1 degrees. This shows how 250 years of human activity has upset the balance that the Earth has built up over millions of years. This 1 degree C means that the oceans, atmosphere, forests, glaciers, and mountains together store more energy. And nature does not hold on to this excess energy. It turns it into storms, droughts, forest fires, and melting glaciers. Of course, in some places, this increase is felt even more acutely. This is especially the case at the poles. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the global average. The result? Hundreds of billions of tons of ice from Greenland are melting into the oceans every year. This means rising sea levels, threats to coastal cities, and the complete disappearance of some islands. This is not just a problem for the poles, but for all of us. As the temperature rises, glaciers melt, and as glaciers melt, the reflectivity of the surface decreases, and the planet absorbs more heat. This is a self-feeding cycle. It's called a feedback mechanism in science. And once these cycles start, they are almost impossible to stop. But how much energy does this increase correspond to? According to scientists, 1 degree C of global warming equates to about 7 watts of additional energy per square meter. It seems small, but when spread over the entire Earth's surface, this energy turns the system into a giant microwave oven. According to some researchers, this is the equivalent of injecting the power of 5 atomic bombs into the Earth's atmosphere every second. This energy doesn't stay in the atmosphere. It returns in the form of more violent hurricanes, longer heat waves, more frequent forest fires, and devastating floods. The summer of 2023 was the hottest in human history. And experts say this is just the beginning. But change is not just in the air. Water resources are also under threat. Warmer weather means more evaporation. Rivers are drying up, lakes are shrinking, groundwater is being depleted. The Colorado River Basin in the U.S. is suffering the worst drought in its history. Similarly, in Turkey, areas such as the Konya Plain and Salt Lake are experiencing serious water losses. In the Middle East, the Euphrates and Tigris basins are under the threat of drought, which affects agriculture. As the temperature increases, water efficiency in agriculture decreases and product loss increases. In other words, even the bread, fruits, and vegetables on your table are affected by this 1 degree difference. Human health is also at risk. Increasing temperature expands the habitat of mosquitoes. Tropical diseases such as malaria, Zika, and dengue fever are now being seen even in Europe. In addition, concrete and asphalt surfaces in big cities create a heat island effect. The fact that nighttime temperatures do not drop can be fatal, especially for the elderly and those with chronic diseases. Heat waves also increase heart disease, respiratory problems, and heat-related deaths. In other words, this change is not only affecting nature, but also our bodies in a deadly way. What about the seas? So far, the oceans have absorbed about 90% of the excess anthropogenic heat. This has bought time. But there's a limit. Warming seas expand, leading to sea level rise. What's more, warmer water holds less oxygen. This poses a deadly threat to fish and plankton. Plankton are the cornerstone of the marine ecosystem. Their disappearance could affect the entire food chain, from whales to humans. One of the most vulnerable systems is coral reefs. With an increase of just 1.5 degrees C, 70% to 90% of corals could die. If we exceed 2 degrees C, almost all of them will disappear. This would mean the collapse of an entire marine ecosystem, not just a few colorful creatures. When all these impacts come together, the result is food crises and mass migrations. Drought, agricultural inefficiency, and natural disasters leave millions of people without access to basic necessities. By 2022, more than 30 million people had been forced to flee their homes due to climate change, and this number is increasing every year. These migrations can bring not only humanitarian crises, but also political instability, border conflicts, and resource wars. So what will happen in the future? According to scientists, the critical threshold is 1.5 degrees. If this limit is exceeded, it could trigger irreversible domino effects in the climate system. But there is still time. Reducing carbon emissions, switching to renewable energy, protecting forests. These are all efforts to protect the future of the entire planet, not just a few degrees. And remember, this fight is not just the responsibility of governments, it is also the responsibility of individuals. And the bottom line is this: every storm, fire, drought, and migration we experience today is the result of this 1 degree of warming. Every increase in the planet's thermometer is a warning sign, and we can still take this warning seriously. Write your thoughts in the comments.